Welcome to Behind the Mic, a podcast from the Concrete Foundations Association featuring discussions with some of the leading professionals in today's concrete industry. This series features interviews recorded at the World of Concrete 2020 conference in Las Vegas. And in this episode, Dwight Lamb, president of Accu Footing Concrete Footing Brace, discusses his extensive experience and innovation in the concrete industry. Let's jump right in.
Well, good afternoon and welcome from World of Concrete 2020. This is the afternoon of day 2, and we continue our podcast series here with contractors and different ways of bringing the environment that is represented in and around all of concrete construction, not just the Concrete Foundations Association, to you in a podcast form. And one of the things that's truthful about World of Concrete is the act of innovation. And there's so much innovation here, so much technology year after year, which might seem counterintuitive, except for the fact that really things do change all of the time. And one of the ways they do so is from experience, just being out in the industry. And this afternoon, I'm lucky to have Dwight Lamb, who's the president of Accu Footing Concrete Footing Brace. He's out of Big Fork, Montana, and we got introduced to Dwight a couple of years ago, and a new system that he'd been developing, but come to find out how incredibly rich the story he has to tell. So Dwight, appreciate you sitting down and talking with us for a little bit this afternoon.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you pursuing me, and I got to be honest, you've been after me for 2 years, and I finally got myself straightened out and decided, I need to give you a shot at it. And unbelievably, in the 2 weeks that I've been in part of your group, it's been a phenomenal access point to actually being able to tell the story to the right guys.
Well, I appreciate that. And I do think that's important in the marketplace, is to find yourself. And maybe that's even really what the purpose of this podcast is, to help contractors see you got to find yourself in an environment where you can tell your story and find out how significantly you are ingrained as a part of this rich industry. And so I think you fit that category quite well. We were talking a little bit before we got sat down for our podcast, and I want to just spend some time talking about your role in the concrete industry and what brought you to the point of innovation. Really is that sense that you've been in it and you've done everything. You started early on as a teenager, I believe, in concrete
18,
construction.
yeah.
Yeah, and so what turned you to concrete construction when you were a teenager?
Wild woman. I say a wild woman got me to Montana. A good woman kept me there.
All right.
I got to know a family there, and I ended up in between college that I was working in a ready mix plant and working on the crushers and driving mixer and helping dispatch and that kind of stuff. And so I got turned on to that side of construction that as a kid I'd never really seen.
Yeah.
And so it just wasn't in my DNA, but boy, when it got a hold of me, I really paid attention.
So what forms of concrete construction were you really engaged in?
So we were just doing footings and walls,
Okay.
with Gates forms back in the day and packing panels. And so what happened was the company I was with, we were the dinosaurs of the ICF. We were the very first users of what was called foam form, which was out of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada.
Yep.
And so we ended up being a customer of theirs. And as ICF, one of the things that happened, and company changed hands, and a bank came to us and said, hey, you're one of the biggest customers. You guys want to buy the manufacturing? And so the company I was with, they were smart enough to jump in there and say, yeah, we want to do that. And so they included me in that project, and I became their manager in sales at a very young age. At 21 years old, I'm dealing with guys. But it was forward thinking in the concrete world to actually, we called it PDQ Farm. It stood for polystyrene durable quality, but the other word was pretty damn quick. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the logic that we had behind it. And like I say, we were the dinosaurs of ICF.
Yeah, you probably found that background in wall forming and footing forming really led to be able to tell the story well as you saw this new product becoming engaged and really a solution that contractors could buy into.
Yes, I did. And so what we currently have is called Accu Footing. And it's quite a story to get to that, but I've always been a fan of the world of concrete, and we've been here from the ready mix industry side. We started coming in the 90s, early 90s, saw front discharge mixers. We ended up bringing those to the West Coast, and that was an unheard of thing to have front discharge mixers. And so we pushed those, and it really gave us a foothold. And then I learned concrete pumping. We ended up getting a couple swing pumps and doing bridge decks and all sorts of concrete facets that I've seen. And then later on in the later 90s, I found the slinger trucks, stone slinger, And from that point on, I was like, I'm done with the ready mix. I'm not going to be pouring concrete tomorrow. I'm going to buy one of these stone slingers. And so I started doing that in 98. And currently I have 10 stone slinger trucks and Telebelt. And we do specialty things that way. But in that whole process, a buddy of mine came to me while we were building my house. And he's like, there's got to be a better way to do footings than we're doing. He said, I'm sick and tired of dealing with the bar tipping over on chairs and things like that, and I want something that supports my form boards and also lifts the bar and puts it right where the inspectors want it. And so that very night we went over to my shop and then we welded up the prototype of what we're using today in AccuFooting.
Wow. So it's incredibly rich, Dwight. You just begin to map out your experience, and you've touched so many forms of what a lot of the concrete contractors that might be listening to this podcast really have been involved in and have to embrace at some point in their career, if not every day, of managing in this industry.
Yeah.
What was the difference to you? What was the primary difference between a concrete contractor buying ready mix and a ready mix producer delivering ready mix?
Well, it's got to be on time, and the mud's got to be right.
Yeah.
And from a producer side, I guess that would be my most experienced side as a producer. I just always felt like these guys are working their tail off day in, day out. I got to give them everything I got. Yeah. And I can't hold them up by not being a forward-thinking person and giving them the answers to the problems that they're dealing with. And so some of those problems was in the ready mix, but eventually it turned into the slinger trucks because I was doing so many things with mixer trucks trying to put rock down over a cliff that it was impossible to do. I did a job that took me 2 weeks with mixers trying to backfill a foundation for a guy, and it was so tight I had to pick a skid steer up with a crane and turn it around every time I wanted to go to the other direction. It took me 2 weeks to do that job. Then I got a slinger truck, and now I could do that job in 4 hours. It took me 2 weeks. And so I could see the problems that contractors were dealing with, and I wanted to address that. And it's just a fun side of it for me. I like to see the problems, try to make a creative solution.
Right. So innovation came natural to you early on, it sounds like.
Look at foam block. I mean, we were dinosaurs 35 years ago, we're talking. Now look at all the innovation that foam block has made. And the percentage of sales, sure, it's not as much as they'd like, but it still is a great answer to so many problems in the foundation world. And it gives them such a good solution. It's a fantastic, and my home's 20 feet high with foam block.
Right. And so you were telling me a story about what really pushed you over the edge, pun intended, in getting involved in this stone slinging business that you're currently still functioning. The challenge of getting rock down to lower elevations, edge of cliffs, really tough building conditions.
Yes.
How'd you find yourself in that work environment?
Well, it's just where we live in Montana. It's just, I say all the good sites are gone. The ones that are left in between the two easy sites, now that's a difficult site. And so that application, concrete pump trucks, I mean, when we started, we only had 2 pumps in the area of maybe 3 or 4 total, but then soon it became 18 pumps because the evolution of concrete pumping took the concrete and put it in places where it was so difficult before. And that's what the slinger trucks have done for me too, is I learned how to take that gravel and get it to backfill, to get to the front side of the house, out toward the beach. I'm always holding hands with the contractor trying to say, let's not put the roof on the house yet. Give me a minute. Let me get the gravel down to the beach that you need next spring, or get the topsoil down on both sides of this house, just to be able to see the next step before we put the roof on, because they want to drive a nail.
Right. And you're a small business at this point in time.
Yeah,
so I think you said that your business was you and your wife, and
my kids are involved, and a few others. I mean, and we have 20 employees in the CAD business, but in our AccuFooting, there's only 3 of us involved right at the moment, that besides our manufacturing. But we're small business. We're just trying to just keep building an industry in the U.S. that I think is just a fantastic, fun thing to do.
Yeah. How long or how early? Let's say that way. How early in your career did you begin to find the advantages of networking, of connecting with others and helping each other learn and advance?
I got to say, it's probably back in the early 90s. So I was 10 years into it. But honestly, back even in the foam block, right off the get-go, I got interviewed in a magazine, Fine Home Builders magazine. And from that point on, I realized architects and everybody is integrated into how the decisions are made and how they want to see the future. And so I was answering emails. Well, no emails back then. I was answering
right.
mail, and I was shipping product all over the country trying to help these architects see what foam block was going to do in the future.
Right.
So anyway, it was kind of an interesting deal. But so I would have to say for the last 30 years, I've understood networking. And that's where I got to come to you and say, thanks for this organization, because just the fact that you're going to be able to talk to the real players, the guys that make the decisions, the guys that see the problems and have the solutions and are willing to share it with other people. And I don't have the answer for everything by any means. And we just have another product in the chain. It's just part of the game.
Well, I'll tell you, it makes me chuckle when you bring up something like that's taken for granted so much today. And a lot of our listeners are going to be next generation guys in the business, and they've grown up, everything is email. Right? They've got a device in their hands that's 4,000 times more powerful than the first computer that you and I began doing email on. So technology has changed a lot, but also communication, and I think that draws us closer. It sounds like to me that you've also been able to respond to that and get your word out using that technology, and that's to your credit to be able to embrace it, because you mentioned you were the dinosaur in the foam block industry, and that kind of represents a lot of us that don't embrace technology quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it wasn't for my kids stepping up to the plate and giving the old man a hand, it makes a big difference. But I've learned a lot, and I like to embrace it, but I go back to just like your group, your guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a forward-thinking group of guys. I honestly use this. 9 out of 10 guys shouldn't be in the concrete business. Which one are you? There's only one guy that's a forward-thinking guy that can see both sides of the equation and make a decision based on his financial outcome and for the result of the industry and for the owner of the product, that they can make the right decision.
Well, maybe that's a new slogan for the CFA, is we only want 1 out of every 10 contractors.
Well,
which one are you?
Yeah, which one are you? I've used that, and I've got yelled at and punched out a few times, but it's worth it because it makes people think. It's just like, hey, am I really adding value, or am I just distracting from the right way to keep moving forward? There's so many good ideas right here at the World of Concrete that just represent how we should be looking forward.
So you've been around a long time. I think you said 1992 was your first World of Concrete. That was my first World of Concrete. I've been coming to it ever since then. So, nice connection that we have there. If I'm not mistaken, about 12 or 13 years ago, you found yourself in the middle of a housing project, your buddy working with you, and that's kind of where this germ of an idea, hey, there's a better way to produce these footings with quality,
right?
Which I think is the key word there. It's not just doing it faster or more efficient, but quality was a big part of what you were trying to accomplish.
It's in the name, AccuFooting. There's a reason I named it AccuFooting. It's accurate.
So tell me a little bit about just that process that led you and your friend to dream up this concept, and then to do something as bold as to go in your garage and weld it up to try to make sure that it would work.
Yeah, well, that's basically what we did. We just went over and made it up. I did that night, brought it out to him the next day. I said, hey, is this kind of what you're thinking? He's like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, and so we took it from that point. I have a really quality partner. He's an engineer, Daryl Weil, and Daryl's done a great job of putting this thing together on the computer and getting the design, and then we did a mold. We took our little life savings and went and created a mold, and I knew I needed a product. If I was going to go to the industry, if I was going to go to the World of Concrete, I had to have something tangible, visible, that worked, that we had tested and used. So we spent the money, got the mold, got the design. I took it to the World of Concrete, and I met with some folks there that everybody would know their name right now if I gave it, and they grilled me for about 30 minutes and turned to the next guy and said, let's get these guys a contract. This is worth doing. And so I felt like I hit a home run, which I did. It was just a fantastic product. But later on, a great big company went bankrupt, and I got tied up in that for a few years and got a little shot down and thought about it for a while and had to regroup. And then the economy kind of tanked, and found myself in Alaska working, and I came back and I was like, you know what? There's more to this than I thought. I've got to get this figured out. So I went back and got another. Daryl and I went back and redesigned it again, brought in another product, made more of them. And then we got a booth at the World of Concrete in 2018. And lo and behold, we won the Editor's Choice for Most Innovative Product. And it was a great shot in the arm. It was fantastic. We got picked up, did some manufacturing in Canada, and we've had a really good run there and in the U.S. But we're back to grassroots right at the moment. I feel like the end users are the concrete guys that are just out here every day putting up forms and doing it. And That's my intent with your group, is to just show them what we have. And like I say, it's not going to fit every job. It's a cookie cutter project. It's not a commercial, everyday commercial job, because there's so many different variations in a commercial. But on a cookie cutter residential, it fits the bill.
Right. Well, this is a hard industry. And I
Yeah.
think what is so encouraging about your story is that, again, a lot of these listeners are going to resonate. It's going to resonate with them, this concept of the rise and fall of success. And things were on a really nice trajectory for you. I mean, Maya Lion, you go from concrete contractor, you luck into an ICF manufacturing company, you're given a chance to get into ready mix, you're producing a high volume quality product because of your passion with concrete construction. You find yourself into stone slinging, pumping, and then you innovate.
Yeah.
And you land the fish,
Yeah.
and you lose it in a big way. How long did that take for you to pick yourself back up again, realize that this is just a blip in the road? Because there's a lot of people that I think that need to hear that.
It was a 2 or 3 year process. I mean, the economy was tanked. None of us had any money to be doing any messing around with. We were trying to make our house payments. It was a struggle. And I would have to say it was 3 years to 4 years after the economy came back in about 2015 that I finally just said, we've got to get after this. And so we developed it for another couple years, tried it, did it, made sure it was right, made some changes, and then we went back at it and came to the world of concrete again.
Yeah. So you've met a lot of contractors now.
Yes.
In your new form. You're back at it. You've got a product. Your product is very viable. And for our listeners, obviously you can't see the product. It's a plastic form system. It's a brace that will pull your two sides of your form together, hold them in place. And while it's doing that, it also provides chairs for the reinforcement. So it's a 2-in-1 product. It's a safety orange, so it can't be overlooked on a job site. Made of plastic, and so it's very light. You handle a large quantity of them. And how's the contractors responded to that in terms of what one of the things we face in this industry is tremendous labor issues.
Right.
What are you seeing from a response to your contractors?
Well, this is straight from the guys that are using them. I've got several guys at home that they won't go do a foundation anymore without a box of these in the back of their truck, because they realize that the labor savings is legit. And it's not just labor. It's just a little tiny bit tip in. There's a little tiny concrete savings. There's just, you add up all the equation and there's some significant savings. They're claiming that they're saving 2 to 3 man hours per 100 lineal feet on pouring, forming, stripping, the whole thing when you look at the whole day. And that seems outrageous. Honestly, it seemed like, really? But I didn't make those numbers up. Those guys came and told me that, and I've done the math. We've compared them side by side, and we know how fast it can be. Right. And it's just instant. Your form boards are up, and we don't want you to nail them. We give you a nail hole, but every time you put a nail in, you got to strip it. We don't want that. But anyway, they're seeing the financial side of it, and it offsets for especially the smaller crews. And I understand the big guys, and then there's a lot of them in your group. They've got footings figured out. They don't need me, but if they really do the math, it's a labor savings for them, and eventually they will see that equation come together.
Right. And so now you're in the marketplace, and I sense from you that you've gone back to that passion that you have to be the small guy, to stay the small guy, and to be in relationship with the everyday small guy and not really seeking corporate partners. Obviously been burned by that once.
A little bit, yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right?
Yeah, twice was enough.
Yeah. So certainly appreciating your engagement and your acknowledgement of this network, realizing that it's as much your network as it is our or my network. What do you foresee as your future? What's this future holding for you and AccuFooting? How are you seeing that reshaping what your goals are?
You know, I'm at the age, and I've got kids in the construction side in my trucking company that are taking care of things, and I'm pretty well dedicated to being able to move this forward. And my daughter's going to come on. She's a chemical engineer. She understands plastic. And so I see myself just really investing in guys that are in your group and having a one-on-one relationship to help them understand what I'm trying to accomplish and the savings that I think that they can benefit from it. But it's just, I like concrete. I like the relationship. I like the people. I relate to them. It's just part of who I am. And like you say, I've been in every facet of it, so I understand it. And I know the challenges that they're dealing with from a day-to-day basis. So I feel like we have everybody wants to sit around, drink beer, and talk about the next greatest thing that they want to come up with.
Right.
And that's basically just what we did. And we pushed it. And yeah, we've got 4 patents. We got another one coming. We've got some in Canada. I mean, we're trying to protect ourselves, but we understand that it's an industry where we just need to go out and be real and be in the group and be part of the team.
And you're seeing that response of other
Yeah.
contractors. And one of the things I think that is often mistaken or missed even by contractors is to believe that a spirit of innovation that they may have may not be shared by others. And I think you're proving the opposite, is that the innovation that you felt and the need,
Yeah.
you're seeing responded to
I
by
am seeing
contractors.
response. I'm seeing lots of people just pick it up and say, wow, okay, I can make this work.
So you've got a son, you got sons, 2 sons, right?
One son.
One son that's in the
daughter.
business. Yeah, I met him yesterday. Logan
Yeah.
was here with you, and your daughter's coming involved in the business. So now you're finding yourself in the crux of this transition. So many guys are finding themselves that have been in as long as you and I have, is that transfer to a next generation. And how do you engage them? How do you empower them? How are your son and daughter reacting to this opportunity that you're kind of folding them into?
They just absolutely love it. They both have spent actually, my daughter's the one that helped us win the world's most innovative product. She invested into helping us get it done and get the paperwork and get everything right. She wrote the story, and she's really invested in it. My son, the same way. He loves AccuFooting. He's dealing with our trucking side, but he spends a lot of time helping me in this. And they see the benefit, they see the long term of this, and they see it as the future for us as a family.
Yeah, fantastic. And so how much of who you are today then is being reshaped by the kinetic energy that's coming from their involvement? That you said your daughter helped you win the innovation award.
Yeah.
Are you feeling them kind of re-energize you?
Yeah, it actually is. If you didn't have somebody coming up next to you to say, this is great, let's do this, and we're here to help you.
Right.
If you were out there by yourself and you're looking at, maybe 10 years, 15 years from now, I'm ready to retire. But it innovates you it energizes me to just stay in the game and to say, I can do this. I'm looking forward to doing this. So It's fun to see it. I hope my grandkids come to the World of Concrete. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I want them to experience what I experienced. And I get people laughing at me, you're going to the World of Concrete. I'm like, what the heck? And I just say, yeah, but you just really don't understand. It's a big boy's toy land.
That is. In fact, I don't let any of my friends say World of Concrete without using a monster truck voice. I mean, they've got you just have to have it in that kind of rumble in the down low to really appreciate that it's here. Well, again, you can probably hear the excitement behind us, or the din of all of the activity going on here in this hall, and you're part of that. And there has to be you have to get to a sense of pride mixed with the right amount of humility to understand that you've become part of this environment in a very special way.
Yeah, it is fun. I love coming back, and you meet so many new people, but they become your best friend in a way. You only see them once a year, but man, you look forward to getting the time to spend with those folks and see what's happened in their world for the last year and see the innovation that they're coming up with. This is a forward-thinking group. You don't come to the World of Concrete without finding people that are trying to move to the next level.
So what do you say to a concrete contractor that's listening right now that has been up against struggles and sees a better way and may be resistant to try to believe in themselves that they can go out and do it? What's your message to them?
It's just like when the mud's coming hot and you got to get it done. A lot of times it falls right to the guy that's got the trowel and the most experience to get a finished product. And it has to happen. You can't just walk away and leave something on the slab you just have to get the job done.
Right.
And that's part of it. It's that stick-to-itiveness that concrete guys, it's in their DNA. If they've got concrete in their veins, they can make it happen. And that's how I feel about innovation. If they see things that can change and make things safer or make things better for the next guy or the next generation, why wouldn't you do that? And there's people around that can help you do that. And if you can't see that avenue of how to get it there, talk to somebody. That's what my buddy did. He couldn't figure out how to get it over the cliff, but he helped me see what he was wanting to do, and then I was able to help him get there. And to this day, I want this thing to succeed for him. It's in my blood to make it work for him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great story. And so To you listening, just as a reminder, oftentimes the next step is the most important one that you can make. And I want to encourage you to be thinking about that, and at the same time believe in your role in the industry, that you're participating in quality. You take the passion that it puts you in the place that you're in, whether or not you're listening to this, and you're just the guy that's putting in 40 to 60 hours and you believe that it's about the paycheck. You're still part of a great industry that has a lot of innovation, has a lot of passion, and we want that for you. And so, Dwight, I appreciate you sitting down with me for a few minutes. It's great to get to know your story. Wildly excited about your product and what its future holds, both within our association and in the industry in general. And you too can find out more about AccuFooting. Just Google it, AccuFooting. And what's your website, Dwight?
It's just AccuFooting.com.
AccuFooting.com. I thought so, and I want to make sure it came out of your words, not mine. But you can Google it, or you can go to AccuFooting.com, and you can also find out more from him at the Concrete Foundations Association website. We will be back with more podcasts and ways of hopefully stimulating your thinking about your role in the industry and your ability to participate. But for Dwight, we're going to sign off now and hope that you have a great rest of the World of Concrete, Dwight.
Thank you, and thank you for this association and what you brought to the table here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy, everybody.
Behind the Mic is brought to you by the Concrete Foundations Association. You can learn more about us and about becoming one of our #CFA Concrete Pros by visiting our website, cfaconcretepros.org. If you're a concrete professional interested in being part of a future podcast, reach out to us by email to info@cfaconcretepros.org to start a conversation. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Mic.